security also gave us an extra large men's shirt. Do you have any cool trivia questions? I have none. I've been all out all day.
No, hold on. I got it. Yeah, let's answer the crypto problem. Yeah, who's? Okay, either one of these. If you can identify, because everyone's got these badges that are punch cards. Yeah. If anyone can identify what punch card this is. There they go. Someone there. Terminator.
All right. So a couple of things. We've announced a couple of times before. I'll do it one more time. If you are commuting to Shmoocon and you are parking in the hotel parking lot, you will want to stop by registration. We have discount parking codes. They'll save you a ton of money. They're available for all the entire time that Shmoocon is running. You will get a discount to the parking, so it's $15 a day instead of like $32. So please pick one up at registration. Also, the first hidden contest clue is available posted outside of registration. So if you're working on the hidden contest, go to registration and you can read the clue. Also, I hope that you all bought a whole bunch of Shmoo balls to throw at Simple Nomad. He's going to spout a bunch of good stuff and a bunch of crap in order to get you to throw Shmoo balls about crypto and stuff that you need to be doing to protect yourself when you're doing good stuff and nefarious stuff. So give a warm round of applause to Simple Nomad.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you to the Shmoo people for inviting me back again. I would have showed up anyway, whether I was speaking or not, and whether I had a ticket or not. I probably just would have showed up and tried to sneak in somehow. But nonetheless, this is one of my favorite cons, and we'll just kind of go through this real quick. I'm with NMRC. I used to be with Vernier, but that's because Vernier has now changed their name. I'm now with Autonomic Networks. And so that's kind of different. I was planning on releasing some code, but I'm not going to release some code because I was extremely busy with work. The name change, and then it's Silicon Valley stuff. We're now in stealth mode, all right? So there you go. So if I'm going to show the concept of something later on in the talk, and it's new and interesting and weird, and when I first told Bruce about it, we were at dinner, he just said, "That's nuts. You can't do that. That's just stupid." So we'll let you be the judge of that. Maybe he just thought, well, we'll get him up there and people throw stuff at him, and it'll be funny. I do write encryption tools. I've made many mistakes when writing them, and I'm still learning from that stuff. I don't profess to be a coder. My main strength is in protocol analysis. So that's kind of the rough background there. Disclaimer. A couple of years ago, I gave a talk on the Hacking the Friendly Skies talk, and I recently did some stuff on that Dreamliner 787 thing and whatnot. So there'll be no airplane talk during this particular one. Is Ovi Carroll here? Damn, I was sure he's going to be here. Ovi and Brett Padres do the pardon? Cyberspeak. Yeah, they do Cyberspeak. It's a computer forensics podcast, and they keep mentioning me in there in a very negative light because they think it's funny. So I thought I'd get him. Also, the reason there's not going to be any airplane talk is because do not listen to Mike Loveless. It is really sad, they're saying, okay, you get to be a talking head on CNN. What's your name? My name is Mark Loveless. And so, boom, there we go. That's, yeah, Mark's a porn star, yeah. So just, if you see that guy, don't listen to him. Okay? Also, just another disclaimer on this. I'm not giving away any state secrets in this talk. Okay? Federal, okay, well, just, you know. Federal, I don't know. All right, well, we'll see what happens. And for those of you that may be concerned that I'm giving the terrorists things to do stuff to us with, they already know all this stuff. Okay? So roughly here's our agenda. I'll give a bit of background, which will be for those of you that don't know anything about crypto, and for those of you that do, it's going to be extraordinarily boring. I'll give some scenarios for what I think hackers, now this is the thing, this is kind of the point of the talk, you know, what should hackers be doing as far as crypto goes. We have a little bit of a different needs than, say, normal people, or the straights, or the civilians, or whatever you want to call them. And I have a section about being thinking that you're very elite. There is the infamous "What would Dan Kaminsky do?" section of the talk, which will become readily apparent at the end why that's the nut part of the thing. And that's no slam against Dan Kaminsky, but there you have it. And then I will explain last year. Does anyone? Oh, we'll get to that in a minute. But the Vernier T-shirts that were included in the bags from last year, I'm going to explain the back of that shirt a little bit. Do a quick summary. All right, what we're going to be talking about, I'll cover roughly and generally various algorithms. I'll touch on a few exotic things. I'm not going to, and basically I'm going to be talking about encryption solutions to a given scenario. And I'm not going to cover every single scenario. I just want to get you guys thinking about this kind of stuff. I'm not going to cover enterprise solutions, so if you're an enterprise person, then sorry. I'm not going to cover any of the various regulations. So if you're wondering, oh, you know, is he going to talk about something so that, you know, the bank is going to encrypt the credit card numbers or whatever correctly and store them safely? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to discuss hashing algorithms because that really is what would Dan Kaminsky do kind of thing anyway. I'll also talk about a few things that are bullshit. Okay, so we'll cover, hopefully we'll get to a lot of fun stuff. Okay, we do talk this talk about how we're all really, you know, we're security people, right? Right? Okay, all right, just making sure I was in the right room. Okay. But the thing is like, you know, we talk about this stuff, but do we actually go through and actually do it? Do we understand, fully understand, all the implications of using encryption? Do we understand the strengths and weaknesses in individual given scenarios? And that's kind of the core of this. Just some background so you kind of understand some of these algorithms and things I might mention. Stream ciphers. SSL, TLS, those are, if you hear me mention stream cipher, this is, you can relate it to that. You know, VPNs would be considered in that arena as well for the most part. Symmetric algorithms, AES, which was Reindahl, the winner of the NIS Hooray, I'm the greatest algorithm writer in the world contest. Two-fish, triple DES, those kinds of things. Asymmetric algorithms, RSA, PGP, the whole, you know, public-private thing. Stream cipher pluses, they are good protection against sniffing attacks. Does everyone pretty much agree with that? I think that's good. There is some level of affirmation that the target is who they say they are. Now you can do a whole presentation on where, you know, keys and all this thing with certificates and whatnot. But assuming that you are, like, say, doing some type of certificate exchange, there's some type of cryptographic thing going back and forth, you can do some, in most cases, do some type of, I'm pretty sure that is who I think it is. Okay? So these are good things. Some minuses, though, is that there's really no protection on the endpoints. You know, if you send sensitive data from insecure computer, you know, over this wondrously encrypted link to another insecure computer, you know, you're still unprotected on the endpoints. And the part where it's just in transit is, you know, at that point it was just ridiculous if you're just leaving it open on either end. Obviously, if you're doing, you know, IDS, IPS stuff, unless you're doing some type of SSL proxy or man in the middle, there's actually a few companies that do this. They say we will we will SSL man in the middle all your SSL stuff going out so you can look in the streams and do IDS IPS things, which has all kinds of various implications if you think about it for, like, say, doing banking from work and having the sysadmin now know what your account number is and whatnot. That can be kind of creepy. Attackers have been known to sniff for certain types of encrypted traffic and then attack those particular endpoints, particularly if the endpoints are interesting. Does everyone remember a few years back when Microsoft, they had a break-in, and they said, oh, the attacker was in for a week, or it says in for 3 weeks or something, then they changed it to a week, and then changed it to 4 days. And they says, oh, well, he had read-write access to this. No, it turns out he only had a read-only access to Office 2003. You remember all that stuff? All right, okay. The attacker was Chinese. Big surprise there. And he was in for months and months and months. And I knew lots of people that worked at various security companies that would get called in to go work on this problem. And part of the problem was they had multiple ways to get into Microsoft from the internet. So they had multiple ways in, and they were trying to, like, say, one guy I know was mapping the entire internal network to find all the pipes going out, so they could try to do some type of closure on it. But also, the guy was also, popping ISPs in the Redmond area and looking for people that have DSL links, and one endpoint was going over to Microsoft. And so he compromised their home computer, and then from there come in over their encrypted link. Okay? So that kind of stuff does actually happen. Symmetric algorithm pluses. This is used all the time. Everyone, the whole idea of, like, on the command line, I'm going to encrypt this file. So this is the big thing. The algorithms in a lot of cases, like, say, for when you're doing, like, some type of asymmetric algorithm, your PGPs and these types of things where you're doing key exchange. A lot of times the key exchange is just to come up with is holding the actual key, and the underlying key that's actually doing the underlying crypto of the file is actually a symmetric algorithm. These are fairly well tested. They're fairly common. There's tons of them. Probably one-time pads. Does everyone here know what a one-time pad is? Okay, these are considered. Pardon? Yes, exactly. One-time pads are considered potentially the most secure and the most resilient algorithm to attack. Okay, I mean, this is the way you want to go. Okay, if you're going to do stuff. The problem is that, which we'll get to here in a second, is that the key management with one-time pads is a complete and total bitch. And just so you understand what a one-time pad is I just take, let's say I have a file that's 100K, let's say it's 100K, and I want to encrypt it with a one-time pad. Well, what I'm doing is I create a key of random material, and it needs to be pretty random material, and so my key is 100K. All right? So it's like, as big as this is, that's how big my key has to be, or my pad. And then XOR. That's it. That's all you got to do. And then boom, then the other side is, it's just very, very secure. Obviously, you don't want to use the pad more than once. That's a problem. And there's a few other caveats, like you want to make sure that like I said, the key exchange. Oh, come on. For what? What's the objection? What was it?
Assuming that you have a source of purely random data, one-time pads need to have 100% random key material in order to be 100% secure.
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct.
How many sources of purely random data do you have?
I don't have any sources of purely random data.
Pads are encrypted besides key management.
Okay, well that's a part of this. Okay.
Computer systems are 100% secure in your block.
I'm talking about implementation.
No, but you do need, like he's saying, he is saying, we do need. Yeah, gamma rays. Yeah, there are sources to get truly random data. Now, odds are most people in their homes do not have this. Okay? Or we think, or we'd like to hope that. But there you go. By the way, that was a good shot. I mean, there's lights here. I can't see a damn thing. It's just like, bam! It's like, wow. That was impressive. That was impressive. Asymmetric algorithms. Thanks to PGP, which is more or less the de facto standard for this type of thing, they're getting much easier to use. And so people are using them more. You can get plugins that go into your email clients. You can get all kinds of nice little fancy GUI things on them. They are considered unbreakable for the most part, and that's going to be kind of up for debate among various people. But nonetheless, they are, for the most part, you could consider them unbreakable. The problem with them is they're still very hard. The concept itself is very hard. Now, let's just take PGP, for example. Everyone understand the idea of the ring of trust and you've signed keys, and that way you can tell if this person's trustworthy because they've signed keys. And then they have key signing parties where people show up and they show each other their driver's license and say, oh, look, this is really me. Okay, everyone familiar with that? Okay, well, the key signing parties are not that great of a thing. I don't know how many people here know Druid. He's a green-haired individual that's always around the cons. He came to DEF CON for a key signing party. He had a novelty, it said novelty in real small letters on the back, Texas driver's license, and he had the name Simple Nomad on the front. It had his picture, and I don't have a copy of it because I didn't want to fly into Washington, D.C. of all places with multiple forms of identification. But his picture on it is like this. With his green hair, and of course it's really funny too because it's like, 1337 Hacker Way and all this other kind of bullshit. And so he takes it, his goal was to, because it was Jeff Moss was doing this key signing party, which he didn't show up, and he was actually going to prove how silly the whole thing was by going up to DT and saying, hi, I'm Simple Nomad, sign my PGP key. And he had a key. There's a key out there made, and there's people that have signed it. He got people to sign it, and he was explaining, what it was like to be me and stuff to strangers. So even I don't know what it's like to be me. I hear it's really rough. All right. Now the threat models. I'm just going to touch on this just briefly. I mean, you got to think about if you're going to be doing this kind of crypto stuff to protect your data. You've got your noobs, and you've got your people that are, the hacker types. There are organized criminals and stuff. I don't know how much of a threat organized criminals are to some of the people in this room. Hopefully none. Terrorists, certainly that could be some. Nation states. And the three-letter acronym people. Those are kind of, and not just our gov, but other govs and whatnot. I mean, I'm not just applying this just to the United States, although I do kind of, I guess, tend to lean to that by saying .gov. But they are the big boy on the block, okay, when it comes to doing the crypto thing. So you have to keep that in mind. But just, I want you to think about, where your threats are actually going to lie, where your threats are going to be coming from. You don't need to go like, gonzo military crazy to protect your data against a noob, or if you have like data that really isn't that exciting anyway. Okay? You should, try to match stuff. All right. I'm looking for a thing to block balls with here. People are arming themselves. All right, this is the tinfoil hat slide. Now I'm going to go ahead. Now I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not necessarily saying that I agree with everything on this slide. All right, so I may be throwing a ball at myself for all I know. But I just want to let you know that these are snippets and rumors Okay? Everyone, I've had some of these pseudo kind of confirmed, so to speak, and some of them I haven't. And some of them just seem too outlandish, but I think I'm just going to throw them out there to, help get you in the proper mood. All right? Okay, here's one. It is believed in certain circles that all public crypto algorithms are breakable. Breakable by our government and probably a few others. Okay? All right. Big enough building, to fill with computers doing nothing but that. Okay. And by the way, he has my permission to take my photo, even though he's not an official photographer. And all of you can do that. Fuck that camera roll thing. I don't care. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's Mike Lovelace talking, exactly. Yeah, no, it just seemed kind of silly because, have you seen the cameras that are in the hotel that are getting all of this going in and out anyway? Who do you think? We're in Washington, D.C. Who do you think has access to those tapes? Come on, think about it. Jesus Christ. All right. Okay. Now, this is, in some certain circles, they're saying that the reason we won the crypto wars wasn't because of the efforts of the community, the EFF going in there and all this other kind of stuff we did to say, hey, we need to be able to export crypto and stuff. One camp of people say, oh, well, we let you think that you won. Actually, we just can break them all now, so, what the hell, and it looks like we gave up, and now all the evil criminals of the world will now use this crypto that we can break. Here's a good one. SSL was crackable in real time in 2001 at OC 48 speeds. I have heard this from two different people that swear it's true. Okay? Now, of course, whoever has the power to do that, wow, that's impressive. 128-bit SSL. What encryption algorithm? That more than one. I don't know specifically which ones, but I was told more than one.
Route 13.
It was a. No, it wasn't Route 13. I think it was Route 26. They did it twice to make it nice. And roughly the same time frame, I heard the 1024-bit keys were breakable brute force in a day, 4096 in 8 days. Well, exactly. What kind of hardware? Now, like I'm saying, I'm just letting you know that there's just things I've heard. Going to these conferences and stuff and running into security people, running into crypto people, and having these odd conversations that you have, oftentimes, believe it or not, while sober, you run across these little tidbits. I'm just bringing them to you, things that I've heard. I'm not saying that I'm not going to put any credence in there. This is one that I've heard, which is interesting, that PGP is breakable, not due to a flaw in the crypto, but in the protocol. And that the technique is classified, but the fact that you can break PGP is not classified. That's what I've heard. Like I said, you don't have to take my word for it. And there's, I've actually had conversations with some of the PGP folk about this, and they say the guy that told you that, who was he was a former teacher of crypto breaking at the NSA, they're saying he's nuts. He's saying he's not. You be the judge, he could just be telling me this shit, so I'll tell you, so you'll all get paranoid, okay? Yeah, well, you gotta do what you gotta do. But like I say, well, yeah, what do I know? I'm just some guy up here saying random shit. All right, let's go through some crypto scenarios. Here, the shell account. All right, let's say that I wish to encrypt files. I want to keep them safe from the admin. Got a nosy admin on the box, or I've got just a friend I don't trust that's root on the box or whatever. Dangers would include for this would be that once I put in my passphrase, it's going to be in RAM, and that if someone had administrative access and I don't, they can actually go in there and look at it in RAM and whatnot. It is possible during this time, depending upon the OS and conditions that are going on it, that the passphrase actually could be written to swap. Okay? And people that do computer forensics, one of the things they do is they do look at the swap file to see if there's anything interesting in there, and occasionally they do find stuff like that in there. Another one is that the original plain text file is typically still right there on the hard drive. It may not have may have done just a simple delete on it, but the contents of the file are still there. And again, the contents of that plain text file, even if they were securely erased, or somewhat securely erased, I'll get into that in a minute, may have actually made it to swap. You know, so, and another thing to keep in mind, there's I can go into some other stuff like, I'm not going to go into it though, it's just, dealing with like file slack and the space between chunks and all this other kind of stuff. We're not going to go into that. Again, also, a root user could, they could send some type of signal or do something bad and, and then, we get a core dump or just something they can do to cause your program to crash and remnants are still in memory, and then they could potentially see what the passphrase is. And these are just a few that I came up this morning while recovering from last night's drinking, typing up that I threw in here. Again, on the shell account thing, if you can use a program, and let's say that the way it should work, okay, is that you put in your passphrase, and then immediately that passphrase is turned into some type of hash, and then you zero out the passphrase. So at least you don't have this plain text passphrase hanging around in memory for anyone with authority on the box to see. And you can take your pick of hashing algorithms for practical purposes. I know people talk about, MD5 and SHA-1 have got issues and stuff like that, but I mean, again, realistically, I mean, are you really going to be worrying about MD5 collisions in memory while hashing right before you do some other operation on it? Probably not. The program should be able to securely wipe the original plain text, and that actually might be impossible on journal filing systems or file systems that do journaling, because what will happen is part of journaling is just trying to keep track of, so in case it can reconstruct actions that you performed on that drive. So it is possible forensically to go in and possibly recover that. Even though you think you're wiping it safe, you're really kind of wiping a, one part of the journal that's got it there. So you may not actually get it securely wiped. This is, just to give you an example, this is an issue on Linux using, like, say, ext3. Okay, if you use ext2, you can actually go in there and securely wipe it. Use 3, you're going to run into some problems because it does some pseudo-journaling type stuff in there. And again, consider the threat model and how likely the admin is going to be to target you and your files. And if you're really thinking about it, I mean, do it on your home system anyway. Yes?
Mark, you're looking at storage on the system, but if you can back up one level and go to keystroke lock, you can get around all that stuff if your stuff actually captures the passphrase going in.
Yeah, keystroke loggers. Yeah, he mentions keystroke loggers. Yeah, I actually, in one of the, because I did write a program that tries to do that, and I've got in there a whole list of like about 15 or 20 different things that I thought of, one of them being keystroke loggers. I mean, if the box is owned, I mean, that's the thing. The other thing to keep in mind is, like, you may trust the admin implicitly, but, if the admin's not a good admin as far as keeping the thing patched up.
Well, there's a 0 day and he didn't know about it.
And he didn't, yeah, exactly, or 0 day, and then kaboom, all your encrypted porn is now compromised. Or what if what? Yeah, what if you can't trust the admin? Exactly. What if you are the admin and you're drunk? And you start, fucking up, and it's like, whoa, and then people own your shit. I mean, it happens. But, right? Am I right? Okay. Free email and anonymity, okay? This is one that is kind of gets me. You want to use a free email service, but you wish to remain anonymous, okay? Now, the dangers include IP addresses of users are logged at these locations, so you're losing some anonymity there. The mail spool could be handed over to someone that asked for it. with or without a subpoena. They use a subpoena when you say no. If they ask and they say, oh, sure, go right ahead, you can have it, then no subpoena is needed, believe it or not. Huh? We're getting there. We're getting to, you mentioned Tor, we're getting there. What you have to do if you're really going to do this kind of thing is you have to separate your identity from the spool and just assume others are reading it. So just assume that it's being read by someone else because it's a free email service. You know, do you trust the admins? Do you trust whoever the admins might hand over that spool to and whatnot? If it's really going to come down to that, then you just need to be able to separate yourself, your identity from the identity of the spool. And I would say a combination of Tor and free proxies in that order to set up and then access that account. And just keep in mind, and I'm going to touch on this in a minute, that the free proxies are just as questionable when it comes. Huh? So. Yes, don't worry, we're getting there. I know where you're heading with the comments on Tor. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. Understand the dangers of JavaScript, okay? They can be countered, but it's painful. If you've got a mail client, or you're using a web browser as a mail client, and it's interpreting JavaScript, yes, someone could be running an evil Tor exit node, so when you exit there, it injects something into your stream, some Java stuff in there that'll, like, say, do a DNS lookup from your client revealing what your IP address is, among other things, okay? You are putting your trust in whatever exit node you're going out of. And the Tor people, they do say they recommend, well, look, don't use ActiveX, okay? Don't use, have that stuff turned off. Turn off JavaScript. Now, more than likely, these free email services are wondrously painful to try to navigate and use and actually be able to do things like, I don't know, read email. If you don't have all these gizmos and doodads turned on, because how else are they going to serve up all these wondrous ads for you? So it is painful. Don't do stupid shit, okay? This is another way. I don't know how to put that, okay? You set up the account and say, I wonder if my anonymous email's working, and you send yourself the, a copy of the email to your home account. That kind of gives it right up now, doesn't it? Or you do PGP for it, and then you sign it with your key. Oh, gee, I wonder who that is. And of course the obvious, you don't go on there and say I'm dumbass. I'm going to tell all my friends about my neato, spiffy, completely anonymous dumbass account. By the way, I block all Yahoo, so if you all have Yahoo, I block all that. I block all the free email things. You would not believe how much spam that cuts out. Sorry, let me get spam preachy on you guys. Okay, absolute secrecy. You want 100% secure encryption and security. Okay, well, you're not going to get it, all right? You're really not going to get it, okay? But you can get kind of, I'm going to say just close, all right? You can get better than average, but it is impossible to do. At least, and again, that gets into the whole idea of randomness and stuff like that, because we don't have access to true random sources. Okay, one-time pads they're really going to be the way to go, even if you don't have a 100% random source. If you can get a fairly, really good random source, then you're much farther ahead in the game. But again, key management is the real bitch, and that is, one, you have to generate your pad. Now, if you're doing this pseudo-random number generator thing, do what now?
If you're using a PRNG, it's not an OTP. It's a stream cipher.
I'm talking about using something like Isaac. When you use something like Isaac, some algorithm like that, perhaps I should not have put.
If you were generating it by an algorithm rather than a random process, it is not an OTP.
Well, okay, and I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just saying you're going to have to generate some type of material that is in some semblance of random. Emphasis on pseudo. And so there you have it. You have this. And the problem with that is to even get decent random material out of a regular computer, just regular home computer, is slow. Okay, it's a very slow process. Your key generation is just maddeningly slow. And again, you have to make the thing at least as big as your plain text document. You probably want to make it a little bit bigger and whatnot. So, and then you have to make a perfect identical copy of that, just one and only one copy of that. You have to hand deliver, and you really, because what are you going to do? Send it on the internet, in plain text? No, you don't want to do that. You're going to have to hand deliver that pad to the recipient somehow. You can encrypt, and XOR really is fine in this case. I still might recommend compressing it just so you don't have to deal with, there's a couple of reasons for that. One, you want to compress it because now it's smaller and you don't have to have as big a key. But also, can anyone tell me the one interesting...
Well, compress before the XOR.
Yeah, no, not after, compress before the XOR. Compress before the encryption. Yeah, exactly. Or, yeah, exactly. But if you're gonna, yeah, exactly. If you want to just encrypt it, then fine. Well, hey, here's an idea. Just don't write it, and then no one will know, But where was I going with this? I was gonna make some extremely Sicilian point. Oh, okay. Here's something. This would have been the other trivia question if they would have said, let's do some more trivia for giving away stuff. But just out of, if anyone knows this, just yell it out. There is a characteristic, and maybe you shouldn't answer this because you probably know it right off the top of your head. But when you're doing XOR and you have plain text, just ASCII plain text, and you're doing XOR, there is a characteristic in your ciphertext. Can anyone tell me what that is? You're real close. You're missing the upper bits. You don't have the upper bits in there as a part of the XOR process. All the upper bits are gone, and so it's kind of another reason why you want to kind of like maybe compress stuff. I mean, not that it would it may not even help in this case, but nonetheless, someone could at least say, oh, I can see what they did with this ciphertext. You have to use the pad one time and exactly one time only. Then you send your message to your recipient however you send your messages, and then you have to destroy both copies of the pads. And there's like wondrous stuff if you read about this type of technology and the way it was used, like say during World War II and stuff. It's fascinating how it was such a pain for some of our adversaries during the war to, oh, well, let's just reuse the pad, and that was how we figured out some of their secret messages and stuff like that. So it just it's a pretty pain in the butt thing to have to go through to do. All right, there are unbelievable amounts of dangers here. Obviously, I mentioned don't reuse the pad. Again, you may have plain text versions that exist on the endpoints. And if however you're sending the message, whether it's email, whether it's courier, you put it on a CD and send it via courier, conceivably someone could say, okay, here are the endpoints, and now you're right back to where you were previously when we were talking about the stream stuff, is that the adversary knows where the endpoints are. So you have to be kind of clever about that. And then, can you trust the recipient to adequately destroy the pad as well as adequately destroy the message? Odds are, if you're going to this much trouble, it's not some document you want just like lying around somewhere, either hard copy printed off or whatever. All right. So anyway, for those people that use crypto, and this is kind of a Milhouse kind of thing. I imagine Milhouse saying that. File drive wiping. Okay, this may be the last time I ever mentioned this in a talk. I've mentioned it 3 or 4 times in talks before, and numerous times on places like BugTrack and stuff, and I get kind of tired of saying it. This is the standard, the DoD standard for wiping data on a hard drive where it can be reused. This does not apply to top secret and higher data, but this is the standard. It's a 3-pass standard. I know the guy that wrote the standard. he actually has worked at Black Hat, helped out at Black Hat before and stuff. And you see him, Jack Halloran, if anyone, yeah, yes, exactly, yeah, you know Jack. Yeah, he's the one that wrote this standard. This is the standard. It's a 3-pass standard. When I say wipe with a character in its inverse, like writing with, F0, then writing with 0F, and then write with random data and verify that last write on there. That's considered good enough for government work, and it should be good enough for you. There is one, I don't know which one it is, G-Mark may know. There's a .mil branch that has a 7-wipe requirement. I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head.
I couldn't say.
Okay. The real standard is, and this is the thing, because I've talked to multiple people about this. I've talked to FBI, Air Force, NSA, various people, and what it really comes down to is the standard is at least 3 wipes. Now, there was one product that was certified by that DoD standard as this is an approved tool for doing wiping, and it happened to do 7 wipes, and so everyone just assumed, oh, the standard is 7. I think that's where that came from. But anyway, 3 is fine. Now, no one's mentioned Peter Gutman yet, so I will mention Peter Gutman's theme. He had a method it was a 35 wipe method. Now, he wrote the paper on doing the 35 wipe method in 1996, back when hard drives, they ran on coal, I think, or something. So, even he, and I've talked with him as well, and you'll see him around at DEF CON as well, big, tall Kiwi, long hair down to here. And he says that this is overkill now on modern drives. You do not need to do 35 passes. If you want to and you feel better about it, great. But there's really no need to go to that much trouble. And what? Wow, something was thrown at me. Oh, yes.
What about the built-in ATA wipe drive command? Is that secure?
The built-in ATA wipe drive command? No, I don't believe that is secure. Now, the thing is, really, if you're going on the drive and you do, okay, let me tell you this. Okay, if you get caught with kiddie porn on your computer, that's considered a really bad thing. People that do forensic work, where they're having to actually examine, pedophiles' hard drives and stuff, a lot of times they'll have to get an image. They'll have to take an image of that drive and then work on it. For the recommendation that I've heard made to them, and this is like people like, Raven knows, like John Klein and some of those people that we know that do forensics. These are people that work at a hacker court at Black Hat and stuff, that have done this type of work for a living. Of course, and if O.V. Carroll was here, he would actually back me up as well on this, that once they're done examining that copy of the drive and they're doing their forensics data on it, when they wipe, they typically just do 1 pass. And 1 pass is enough to wipe it to where normal, everyday, readily available forensics tools cannot recover the data off of it. Now, I'm not 100% sure what that built-in wiping thing does. If it basically gets it in 1 pass, that's probably, and gets everything, then it's probably okay. If you wanted to really be super cool, if it did 2 or 3, that'd be even better. I know the new Windows, I don't know if it's the Windows, part of the new Windows Vista, the last, they're doing that, yeah, where you can actually, when you're formatting a partition stuff, you can actually specify the number of passes it makes when it's wiping the drive or something. There's a new thing in there in the format stuff of it. So that's kind of interesting too. But nonetheless, you've got that. Now, if it's something where it's going to take an electron microscope and where they're going to actually do 3 or more wipes, that stuff's going to be classified anyway. And it will not be used against you in court because your defense lawyer would try to challenge it saying, you pulled this stuff out of your ass, no one can get this stuff out because we did 3 wipes. And more than likely you'd be in a military court and you'd be an enemy combatant because you're a terrorist or something. So don't worry about that one, folks. Public proxies. These are great for hiding your IP address from the webmaster. That is about all they're good for as far as I'm concerned. When you're using switch proxy, everyone familiar with switch proxy? I'm just picking on them for no apparent reason. Few people are familiar with switch proxy. It's just a little thing that lives in your browser, and you can it can change to a random list of proxies every 2-3 minutes, whatever. Or you can just force it to go to a new one. The thing is what I asked is when I saw this thing and I downloaded it, I said, hey, this is kind of neat, because you just turn it on and then you do your thing, and it's like, okay, now where did this list of proxies come from? Who owns these proxies? Gee, do I really trust all these proxies? And if I was like some evil agency of some kind that wanted to track every movement, hey, I'll just set up a whole bunch of free proxies all over the planet. There you go. I mean, I don't trust those types of things. Like I said, you're trying to hide from the webmaster. Great. That kind of stuff is just great. Email services. This will be my last comment on this at a talk. I've done it multiple times. They're not free. And again, if the government asks, whoever, you just pick your free service for your mail spool. They can hand it over. And again, the subpoena is only used if they refuse. Okay? And if I were a big TLA, why not fund one of those free email services to actually exist? So that way, I already own all the mail spools because it's on my hardware. There's no reason why someone couldn't do that kind of thing. Seriously, think about that. All right. Steganography. All right. Hidden message inside another message. Now, the one everyone hears about is image files. You know how Al-Qaeda is putting secret plans inside of porn and then moving porn around. I have done extensive research in this area, looking for porn, trying to find, that's what I told my wife. It's just like, I'm doing steg research. You don't understand. I'm convinced Al-Qaeda is, this lesbian Asian porn. That's where they're at. I know it. I think it's this one particular girl, too, who's really hot. I think it's her. I got to get all of her stuff. Yeah, I got to check every image. That's what everyone hears about. And actually, to tell you the truth, I didn't have the images with me. I wish I did. I put them up. Not the porn ones, okay? But I did actually find some steg out on the internet, searching through images. Now, granted, they came from a site that's no longer around, but it was up for a very long time, very popular, where you could upload desktop pictures, desktop backgrounds. And you create an account, upload desktop backgrounds. And once I found this, I turned it over to some of my friends in the government saying, hey, I just found something and this looks really weird, and let them spider the site and do whatever. And like I said, it's gone away now. But nonetheless, that kind of thing does happen. And the thing is at this point, the person that I handed this stuff over to, he actually said to me, he goes, I can no longer confirm or deny that I even accepted those images from you. So I was like, all right, then they probably were good.
What did you use to verify? Or what did you use to find this denial?
I was using steg detect.
Was it encoded or encrypted, or was it just...
Good question. It was probably, he's asking if the data was encoded or encrypted. My guess is it was encrypted. The thing is, the problem with steg detect, it would just, basically it would say, okay, here, I think I found it, and then there's a cracker that runs with it where you can try to crack it, and then what it does is, if the data is encrypted and you don't know what the encrypted data is supposed to look like, using the passphrase to get it out of there transforms the data. And I think Niels Provost, who wrote the code, just said, I'm going to use use file to try to identify it. It's plain text. It's another picture. It's whatever. And if it's encrypted data, you really couldn't tell just real quick. It was more of a proof of concept tool for him, but that's what I used and everything. By the way, Outguess, you use Outguess. That's a decent steg tool for doing image stuff. And I encourage you, just Google for steg detect and Outguess and all that stuff and read up on it. It's fascinating stuff. Obviously, you would want to encrypt data before inserting into another media, and believe it or not, other things that would be good for doing steganography is consider some somewhat old school techniques, like changes made to a web page. Let's say if I, like the command for launch the attack is, I am a lonely housewife looking for a good time, dear Craigslist kind of thing. Then everyone says, oh, we're on Craigslist. Oh, we see the thing. Go, let's attack. Then that might be, and that kind of stuff's been around for a while. I think those would be probably just as effective. Covert channels, these are exotic and they're largely unused by our community for the most part, with the possible exception of bypassing the T-Mobile, pay for your wireless bullshit that we have to endure. How many people here actually pay for wireless access? Excellent. Excellent. That is excellent. Not a single hand went up. That is wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. I don't feel bad. Because I never do. I just screw that, Well, check an email. I'm not, launching missiles or whatever. All right. Damn. I'm serious. I hear this noise and this fume, and I got these lights. I cannot see. Well, it's like, okay, just. It's someone from T-Mobile. That's what he said. There you go. Yes, if I was launching missiles, I would pay for the Wi-Fi because then I could say that T-Mobile was a co-conspirator. And that serves them. Okay. Believe it or not, terrorists, those guys that we make fun of, ooh, terrorists, ooh, scary. But no, believe it or not, terrorists actually use covert channels. And that's how, one of the big things, how they're doing stuff on the internet, how they're communicating with each other. Pardon? Probably not IRC. Maybe Silk. No, actually, I really don't want to get into specifics. I do know actually some of them. I actually came up with more than one of them in a talk and found out that they're actually using some of those techniques. I don't know whether they came up with it before I did or I came up with it, but I'm not going to. But they are using it, and it's it does happen. So there you have it. Server-to-server covert channels. These are complete ass pain to do. If you're trying to move data from one computer to another via covert channel, you have to set up stuff on both ends. You've got to coordinate stuff because a lot of times it's like I'm reading, the data is encoded in, like, say, the IP ID field or there's some real exotic field there and whatnot. Non-real-time methods do seem to work best. A nice one, I think, would be the message digest field in email because I see no other purpose for that except to shove in encrypted data. Really, I mean, I've read the RFC on the damn thing, and it's just like, there's a standard for formatting the thing, but there's no clue as to why you do it. I know it's used to, like, track threads and stuff like that, but I mean, Jesus, come on. Anyway, now let's get to the fun stuff here. We got about 10 minutes left. What would Dan Kaminsky do? If someone has alcohol and wants to bring it up, I'll take a drink. All right. Now, Riverside, people here probably know Riverside. He's the Wall of Sheep guy at DEF CON. And we discussed this problem. Can I encrypt files without knowing my password and make them self-destruct after a certain time frame? All right. The idea is that I have them on my laptop. My laptop gets confiscated after a certain amount of time. Even though the laptop is off, you can no longer decrypt the files. And I don't know the password for it. That was the mental problem. Okay. I did come up with something between him and I and one other person who came up with a real scary element, actually the Dan element. It wasn't Dan. That we came up with a thing that we got. So roughly it's called plausible deniability protocol. All right? Now here's what it is. Initial setup, okay? And I'm not going to go through and do all the boring, like, the circle with the X in it and then have to explain all the symbols. I'm just putting it up there, just writing it out for you. So Alice chooses a file to encrypt. She supplies a passphrase. That's turned into a hash. A random value is generated. the file is encrypted with the random value. The hash for the passphrase and the random value are XOR together, make a new hash. I take that hash, convert it to a base 64 value, and I store it on the network via DNS caching, via one of all kinds of servers that are going to allow me to be able to do that kind of thing. And I set the TTL on it, so it's going to live for maybe 24 to 48 hours. That is what Dan Kaminsky would do in this case. This is what he said, oh, well, I got to shove it in DNS, of course. There's nothing else to do. Why are you even encrypting it on your drive? Just store the whole file in DNS out there. The hash for the passphrase would be stored locally via secure remote password. Forget that it says remote in there. The SRP protocol, what's interesting about it is it's a zero knowledge proof. So what happens is you just get, there's bits of cryptographic stuff on there that you store on the drive, but there's not enough material there for you to brute force and get the passphrase. And search for it, a guy named Tom Wu, I believe, wrote SRP, and I've actually used it before. It's actually a really neat little protocol. And then just, info on retrieving this cache is you store that locally as well, and so, that way, and obviously you're going to have some type of daemon running. It's going to keep the thing alive, which we're going to talk about. Decryption, Alice enters her passphrase, converted to H1. SRP, we check to make sure it's the right passphrase, and then it goes off and says, okay, well, this H1 is associated with, or this SRP entry is associated with the location where we're going to get the hash back. And then we get the hash back, the base 64 value that's stored on the network by doing a DNS lookup, and we XOR them back together. We get R1, and then R1 is used to decrypt the file. That's roughly the protocol right there for doing it. Now, you're going to have a daemon up and running because you want to have this base 64 to H2 value be periodically queried in some form or fashion that's going to keep that thing alive and out there. Okay? Remember, you got kind of a low time to live on it. It's only going to live maybe 24, 48 hours, however you set it up, something like that. You can set it up for lower than that. You can set it up for a week if you wanted. But we were thinking that 1 to 2 days would be fine. On reboot, the daemon would have to start, and it would have to locate the what it needs to query out on the network to keep it alive, and which means that your computer that you're storing this data on would have to be up and on the internet at least, like say, once in a 24-hour period. And since it's DNS, you could go to Starbucks and it'll slip right past T-Mobile's goofy wall of I don't want you to do anything but drink coffee and pay me lots of money that they put up. So that's roughly it. Now, here's some advantages to it. If your computer is taken from you by an adversary, you can tell the truth. They could give you sodium pentothal. You do not know the passphrase that is going to decrypt the file. You do know the passphrase that's going to go get the value off the network, but you do not know the actual passphrase that will decrypt the file. Now, unless the computer is kept attached to a network, the H2 value will expire. So all of a sudden it drops off a cache, and there you go. Now, most decent computer forensic labs, I would hope all decent computer forensic labs, do not attach computers to the internet while they're doing an examination. Okay? That would be bad. Sometimes they're examining computers that actually were compromised, and the holes are still there. I know we're running out of time, and I'm hurrying. If the cache alone is compromised, it is still encrypted with your passphrase, which at that point can only be brute forced. And like I said, you can do the keep alive from Starbucks. Disadvantages, if it's present, an adversary could just keep your computer on the network long enough to get the base 64 value, and then once they have that, they could use non-torture techniques such as waterboarding and get the rest of it. That's a non-torture technique, right? Oh, they... Whoa. They'll hold you down and throw shmoo-balls at you. Obviously, if the cache goes away, your computer's offline for some time, hard drive crash, something like that, bada bing, bada boom, data is gone. So obviously, if this is only good for short-term data, that you could life without. Actually, that you could live without. I love finding typos right in the middle of presentations. That's just wonderful. But anyway, so if it's something like your secret list of owned computers, then fine. You just go out there and pwn some more. All right, real quickly, if anyone here is wearing the Vernier T-shirt from last year, if you come up here to the front. Wonderful. Okay. I think I know why they changed their name, the efficient marketing campaign. Actually, I did see someone wearing one yesterday. But what it is the contest, the back was a puzzle, okay? It had what looked like to be somewhat randomish data. Some of you were here last year have these T-shirts at home, or perhaps they're... Oh, we got one, okay. Just come on up and hold it up and show the back so they can see that I'm not making this shit up. The contest is over, but the first person to send me an email with the message... Right there, that's it. Here we go. All right. First person to send me that will win an NMRC T-shirt, so you'll get yet another T-shirt. So just let me know. And I cannot guarantee the size, but the gas mask girl who's in the background and all of this, Miss Bethany, our NMRC fetish model, she's wearing one, and if it's good enough for her, it's good enough for you. It's a stealth shirt. It's actually black ink on black. All right. So summary. Trust your crypto lust. Remember that any super secret NSA decryption technique used against you that's classified is not going to be used in a regular criminal trial against you, because you will be in Guantanamo Bay. You're not going to be anywhere near this. You're not going to be handled normally. If they're going to go that much trouble, then in my opinion, they just kill you because it's easier. So we got the bad guy, kaboom, and he's dead. All right. Again, Guantanamo Bay. All right, consider your adversary, okay? Your crypto really has to be able to defeat the immediate threat to your data. It doesn't have to defeat all threats, okay? Because some threats are unreasonable, okay? Just try to be realistic about it, okay? And take that back in your normal life as well. Something to consider. Is anyone here familiar? I'm sure that you are. The dining cryptographer's problem. The idea of the coin flip, there's three cryptographers eating dinner. Someone's going to pay for dinner. We don't know which one. They want to make sure the NSA did not pay for their dinner. So they work out a protocol where they flip coins and show each other the stuff. It's in Bruce Schneier's, I'm not going to demonstrate the whole thing right now. It's in Bruce Schneier's Applied Cryptography book, and it kind of goes into some detail on it. And it's kind of a neat little thing. There's actually been people, and there's actually the more people you get involved in doing the coin tosses, and obviously computers could do lots of coin tosses at once. The idea is you have a method of moving data around. If you apply this to a network, you have a method of moving data around where there's data constantly going on, these coin flips going on between computers, where you can actually pass data to and from another person on the network. And the other person that it's intended to, this has been extended so that you could actually run this on a network and actually pass messages by. And there's even such a thing called the dining cryptographers at the disco that deals with noise on the line. So if the NSA did get on there and put their own nodes on and add noise to it, there's a way to supposedly filter it out. Nonetheless, read about this. I think it's interesting. It's also interesting because there's been somewhat of an implementation issue. There's been 2 attempts to implement this. One through a college, and the professor was a foreign national, and he disappeared. And I'm not making this up. He's gone. No one knows where he's at. And another group that tried to do it, they had some funding for various projects. They lost funding for all their projects, and so it went away. So build that, okay? Let me know how you do. I'm not going to build it. Again, Bruce Schneier's book. I've written some tools. Encrypt, Encovert. Encrypt is obviously a encryption utility. Encovert does a covert channel. Encovert is mainly its proof of concept. The Nearly Perfect Crypto project was a kind of assuming you don't have a great true random number generator source, but you have something that's halfway decent. That's why it's called Nearly Perfect, because it's not perfect, but it's kind of attempt at one-time pads. So anyway, that's what I have. So I I think it's drinking time, isn't it? It's about, yeah, 4 o'clock. If we got time for exactly one question, and if you could save me some time, if you put that question in the form of an answer, it'd really help. Fire away. Thank you. Thank you. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Simple Nomad. If you are wanting to ask Simple Nomad questions, he is going to be going out one of the doors. Please find him in one of the hallways. Ask him the questions there, and let the other people come in so they can see the next talk. Thank you. Hi. Are you guys...
Rohit and Nish.
Yeah, no, I'm not in.
All right, Rohit and Nish?
Yes.
Is that all right for me to introduce you?
Sounds
just
good.
that?
Rohit Sati Nishbala. That's
Yeah, I don't
okay.
know if I
Rohit
knew-
and Nish.
Rohit and Nish.
We'll give our own names. Don't worry.
All right.
All right, I'll get, yeah. Oh, I head up tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. I got my belt.
You know what time it is?